Welcome to Afshah Taj's press conference about group dynamics. This is Psychology Task 4. She's going to attempt to identify, explain and analyse 4 factors which influence group dynamics and performance in team sports. So, Ms Taj, you are England football manager. At the moment the team are quite working well together. Is this something to do with the stages of group development?
England team would be on the storming stage of the group development. This is because there is a lot of argument between the players as they want to play for the first team, or they just don't get along. An example of this would be Wayne Rooney wanting to be a better striker than Welbeck, or Wayne Bridge and John Terry having personal issues. I have no control as the conflict begins to develop. I would have to question the leader's authority as he isn't solving matters between the teammates. To improve their storming stage, some players should step down and give other players a chance to show their potential. An example of this would be Wayne Rooney to allow another striker such as Welbeck to show potential and grow to be the best. Also to show he can create chances and score more goals, which will allow Wayne Rooney to learn off him and for him to get new ideas. This improvement will help motivate the team and give them a chance to focus on the more important things in the team.
Alright. So that's the storming stage, and so what is the 4 different stages of group development? What does it start off with? What's the first stage? Do you remember that? What's the stages of group development?
It's forming, storming and norming and then performing.
Alright, so can you just talk me through those stages then? So you said you've talked a lot about the storming stage. What about the forming stage then? What's that?
At the stage of when they're forming is when they familiarise with themselves, with each other, and see individual strengths and weaknesses. And of course, the storming stage is when conflict begins to develop and the authority of the leader has been questioned. At the stage of norming is when the rules within the group have been established and where they respect each other in the group. And the last stage is performing, is when the teammates are a successful team together, they're effective and they work without conflict.
Alright, so you said the group are at the storming stage. Alright, how are you as the coach going to get them up to the performing stage?
This is I will make sure players know where they are. So if allocate them the roles. So as a midfielder, they should have a main role in midfielding. They shouldn't slack social loafing, and they should work as a team. And in training as well, to make sure that they communicate with each other instead of just making one person do all the work. Okay.
Right, then you've talked about Steiner's model then, so can you explain what Steiner's model is?
England is unsuccessful due to injuries in the team, or there's conflict within the team, or personal problems. These faults are minus from the team potential, which is 70%, which leaves them working at 10% because of their faulty processes, and they should improve by aiming to work at 50%. In my team, I have players with certain ability. This causes motivational faults, as other players will not try to play hard enough because they think just because they have a star player in their team, they don't have to put as much effort in, which then causes to social loafing. An example of this would be Steven Gerrard is because he's a star player and he is one of the great midfielders. Someone such as Lampard will social loaf because thinks that just because he's a star player, he wouldn't have to make that much effort.
Alright, so go back to the Steiner's model then. So what is actually Steiner's model? So you talked about a lot of the faulty processes. What's that equation that we talked about?
It's the faulty processes minus what their actual potential can be. So for example, I've told you about the injuries to the team, conflict within the team. That would be minusing it from the actual potential, such as the 70%.
Alright, good. So you've also gone a little bit onto the Ringleman effect and social loafing then. So what is the Ringleman effect then?
The Ringleman effect has something with my team losing because my players would lose performance as their group size increases. This plays a big part of my teammates as motivation will decrease in the team. Also as coordination falls. An example would be the goalkeeper Foster, as he would hardly play and he would lose confidence and motivation compared to someone as Joe Hart. And this can cause difficulties in the team as there would be conflict and it would be much harder to see him as he at his best potential because there's other people out there than him.
Alright, so yeah, so what is the Ringelmann effect then? What's that sort of saying then?
It's saying that as the group increases, the performance of an individual will decrease.
Yeah, so what can you do as a coach to stop that happening?
I could improve on this by to keep make sure that they're all on their best ability and make sure that they don't lack. Just because there's a large group, the players are most likely to play at their best ability to show them that they're the best ones, that they should be put on the first team.
Right, yeah, good. And then that links into social loafing then, so you've talked a little bit about that before then. What is social loafing?
An example of this would be Jack Wilshere, as he has been social loafing because he is afraid of failure. He doesn't want to work hard as there's more experienced players on his area for expertise, such as Gerrard and Lampard, which causes him to lack in confidence and to be hidden within the team. To improve on this, the team need to start training and improve on their weaknesses. So when in a match, they can convert it into a strength on the field, which definitely would allow underachievers such as Wilshere to get more involved in the game, even though there are other great and experienced players on the team.
Alright, so that's a good example, but what is social loafing then? So that's a good example of it, but what is it? What's like a definition of it?
It's like just saying a player doesn't think they're good enough, then someone is experienced, so they start to not put much effort in.
Right, good. Right, can you give an overall thing about which one's the most important factor that you've talked about?
I think group dynamic is the most important because this is where the teammates start to form, storm and Norman perform. Teammates need to form as they need to familiarise with each other and see individual strengths and weaknesses. At the stage of storm, this is where conflict begins to develop, and so I will need to and to make sure that they don't fight with each other. And I also need to see that the leader is making sure that they're not fighting as well. At the stage of norming, this is where I will give roles to different people in the team, such as giving a striker a first team role, and they should have respect between the group members. And the last stage where they perform is where the teammates are an effective group and work without conflict. Without this stage, the group wouldn't be successful as they need to get to know each other. And this is important because if they don't get to know each other, they will not be able to communicate on the pitch. And this causes failure within the team. Every team will use this strategy to keep their team held together.
Alright,